a strong awareness of impermanence. Meditate single-mindedly on death at all times. While standing, sitting, or lying down, tell yourself, "This is my last act in this world," and meditate on it with utter conviction. As you head to your destination, say to yourself, "Maybe I will die there. There is no certainty that I will ever come back." When walking or pausing to rest, remind yourself, "I might die here." Wherever you are, reflect on the possibility that you might pass away in that very place. When you go to bed at night, remind yourself, "I might die in bed during the night. I'm not sure if I will get up in the morning." When you rise in the morning, tell yourself, "I might die sometime during the day. There is no certainty that I will have the opportunity to go to bed at night." Meditate on death sincerely and earnestly. In the past, the geishas of the Kadampa tradition would ponder before going to bed. There might be no need to light a fire the next morning. Hence, they would often turn their bowls upside down and not cover the embers at night. They thought about death at every moment. We should follow their example. What should I do if today is the last day of my life? If you remind yourself that you might die tomorrow, you will become diligent. You can ponder, "I may not wake up tomorrow, so tonight I shall earnestly pray to the Buddha and peacefully enter the dream. If I were to die during the night, would I still have an opportunity to recite the Buddha's name?" However, don't constantly think like this, as it can drive you crazy. Don't practice any teaching excessively. The purpose of Dharma practice is to counteract our attachments and laziness. There is a limit to any practice. If you cling to a practice and keep working on it, you will be attacked by demons or go insane. Don't dwell on such teachings all the time. As long as they help counteract your indolence, it is enough. If you no longer slack off, you can let go of this practice and move on to the next one. Let go of practices timely, otherwise you might go wrong. We shall meditate single-mindedly on death at all times and in all circumstances. While walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, tell yourself, "This is my last act in this world," and meditate on it with utter conviction. If you have genuinely generated renunciation through this practice, you will lose interest in everything except seeking liberation. Some people, once arousing renunciation, feel an irresistible urge to renounce worldly life and dedicate themselves to Dharma practice. No one can change their resolve. Why? Because they have realized the truth of all things and have a great spiritual urgency. If you don't have such thoughts, however, you will remain attached to worldly things. Therefore, in this regard, practitioners and worldly people have conflicts. If you cultivate impermanence well, you will see through everything in samsara and have no interest in them, just like a person with gallbladder disease has no interest in greasy food. You will only seek liberation. Everyone should be prepared for death. Simply talking about it is not enough. We must integrate this awareness into our practice. Some people may think contemplating death any time and anywhere may not be auspicious. they are afraid that they might die while doing so. In fact, there is nothing to fear. If you practice this teaching for a long time, you will naturally develop a sense of impermanence, which motivates you to practice diligently. Otherwise, you will dedicate your life to worldly activities and postpone spiritual practice like secular beings. Those who don't meditate on the impermanence of life will delay Dharma practice and not make spiritual progress. In the past, some practitioners' minds never ran away through meditating on impermanence. They had tight schedules for their daily practice. We should learn from them, earnestly meditate on impermanence, and never slack off. When you become diligent and can move on to the next practice, you should let go of this practice. Don't practice this teaching indefinitely, as it can lead to problems. However, solely meditating on death is not enough. Only the Dharma can help us at the time of death. Hence, we should constantly abide in mindfulness and vigilance, recognize that all activities in samsara are transient and meaningless, and diligently practice the Dharma. In the face of death, only the Dharma can help us. Everything else is of no avail. When a king approaches death, neither possessions nor loved ones accompany him. No matter where a person goes, karma follows them closely like a shadow. No matter who you are, even if you are a president or a billionaire, when death strikes, you have to abandon everything. President Kennedy had a glamorous life, but his body was miserable after being assassinated. Our karma will carry us into the next life. This means that we have no control over it. At that time, we could not take any possessions or loved ones with us. We can only reluctantly leave the world alone. Even a teacher of thousands of monks cannot take a single disciple with him. Even a clan chief who governs tens of thousands of people cannot take a single one as his servant. Nobody can take a single needle or thread with them. You have to abandon even your beloved body. The Infinite Life Sutra states, amid desires, humans are born and die, coming and going, all alone. Shantideva also said, I was not aware that I must forsake everything when death strikes. I have to experience the suffering of death alone. At the time of death, we have to endure the pain of the cessation of life alone. We should let go early. It doesn't mean you need to give everything away right now, but rather to let go of your attachment to it. Of course, if you cling to something, you need to apply an antidote. For ordinary beings, it is hard to be free from attachment. To possess something without being attached is easier said than done. Can you really give everything away? If I ask you to give everything away, you might say, I am not attached to them. If you try to give something away, you will find that you cannot let it go. Your attachment to wealth may decrease slightly through practice, not as intense as before. If you can let go of all possessions, life and body, you will attain enlightenment. In fact, it is easy to achieve enlightenment. Let go of everything, and you will achieve it. However, you cannot do it because you lack a sense of security. Beings rely on wealth because they lack a sense of security. Fortune tellers also say, wealth is the source of livelihood. Sentient beings think subconsciously, how can I survive without money? I won't be able to live without money. That's why they are attached to wealth. This is because they lack merit. If one has merit, they will let go and work for the benefit of sentient beings. They won't lack merits. The combination of body and mind is impermanent. Hence, do not consider it as me. All roads are impermanent, so direct your steps towards the Dharma. As it says in the condensed transcendent wisdom, if you look mindfully a yoke's length in front of you while walking, your mind will not run away. All places are impermanent, so keep the Pure Lands in mind. Food, drink, and whatever you enjoy are impermanent, so feed on meditative concentration. Sleep is impermanent, so purify delusions into clear light. Wealth is impermanent, so strive for the 7 noble riches. Family and friends are impermanent, so cultivate renunciation in a secluded place. Fame and status are impermanent, so always be humble. Speech is impermanent, so strive to recite mantras and prayers. Faith and renunciation are impermanent, so strive to make your commitments unwavering. Thoughts are impermanent, so cultivate a virtuous character. Meditative experiences and realizations are impermanent, so practice until you reach the point where everything dissolves in the nature of reality. At that time, the link between death and rebirth falls away, and you reach such confidence that you are ready for death. You have reached the stage of immortality. You are like an eagle, free to soar in the heavens. After that, there is no need for any meditation on the approaching death. In daily life, meditate on impermanence in walking, places, food and drink, sleep, wealth, relatives and friends, fame and fortune, speech, wholesome thoughts, deluded thoughts, meditative experiences, relatives and friends. Relatives, friends, and neighbours are impermanent, so constantly adapting to them is meaningless. Instead, we shall retreat from the hustle and bustle of the mundane world and go to monasteries or other quiet places to cultivate renunciation. In doing so, you will naturally cherish time. It is important to cherish time. If you don't value time and put effort into Dharma practice now, you may not have such an opportunity later. Master Yi Yuan from the Ming Dynasty said, "Seek rebirth in the Western Pure Land as early as possible, for life is impermanent between each breath. Cherish the limited time you have. Once you squander this life, it will be hard to regain such an opportunity." This poem talks about renunciation. Fame and fortune. Fame and status are impermanent. Speech. Speech and words are impermanent. Nowadays, Some people complain about feeling exhausted after reciting the mantra of Padmasambhava 10,000 times, or having headaches after reciting for an hour. Yet, when it comes to gossip or casual chatter, especially about others' faults, they find 3 or 4 hours pass quickly. They even work overtime, chatting for several hours. Therefore, ordinary beings have ingrained afflictions. When engaging in virtuous activities, they frequently check time, like climbing a mountain. Even spending just half an hour doing prostrations or an hour chanting scriptures leaves them feeling exhausted. Yet, when they turn to worldly activities, they immediately become energetic. For instance, if you ask them to play chess or video games, they can play until dawn. But if you ask them to study the Dharma, they will doze off in no time. This is the result of karma. Wholesome thoughts. Faith and renunciation are also impermanent. Under occasional circumstances, you may make a determination, saying, "I will never go back home. I will never return to the mundane world." However, after a while, those thoughts may fade away. Therefore, to strengthen our renunciation and faith, we should regularly pray to the Guru and the 3 jewels. Deluded thoughts. Thoughts are impermanent, so cultivate a virtuous character. Especially in today's academic circles, people tend to be judgmental and find faults in everything. However, these thoughts are also impermanent. It is essential to cultivate bodhicitta, compassion, and virtuous character. Without these qualities, no matter how eloquent or imaginative you may not benefit yourself or others. No matter how eloquent or capable you are, you might be creating negative karma. In particular, many people in the academic world are very arrogant and opinionated. In fact, they are ignorant. Meditative experiences. During our spiritual journey, sometimes we may have auspicious dreams at night or see good signs during the day, such as lights or deities. These meditative experiences and realizations are also impermanent, so there is no need to get excited. Despite seeing Buddhas and Bodhisattvas today, you might have a distorted dream tomorrow night. When intense afflictions arise in you, you may not notice them. However, when you have a slight meditative experience or realization, you tell everyone, "I've attained enlightenment. I saw something." In reality, seeing something is not a big deal. The most crucial thing is the transformation of your mind. The signs and experiences that arise during meditation, such as "I exploded" or "I attained enlightenment," are not remarkable. What matters is how you treat others in your daily life. Observe your intentions and thoughts throughout the 24 hours of the day. Have you maintained compassion towards sentient beings? Have you generated bodhicitta? Have you realized the emptiness of subject, object, and action? Have you transformed your thoughts? Not to mention the emptiness of subject, object, and action, you may not be able to realize the emptiness of even just one notion. The transformation of the mind is the most crucial. Only after you have meditated on the rarity of obtaining a precious human life and the impermanence of life over and over again, and generated a firm conviction, will you make significant progress in more advanced practices. Otherwise, temporary signs and experiences are not reliable. The arising of some signs might be the result of your devotion to the Buddha in past lives. If you often prostrated to a Buddha in the past, you may suddenly see his image while practicing in this life. However, if you haven't transformed your greed, anger, and ignorance, such signs are nothing. Why should we understand this truth? By recognizing the impermanence of all conditioned things, we can let go of the attachment to fame, fortune, and everything else. By understanding the impermanence of our lifespan and merit, we will devote every moment to practicing the Dharma, pursuing the peace of nirvana beyond birth and death, and seeking the path to liberation. As Jetsun Milarepa sang, "Fearing death, I went to the mountains. Over and over again I meditated on the unpredictability of death. Having reached the stage of immortality, I no longer fear death." As the peerless Dagpo Rinpoche said, "At first you should be driven by the fear of birth and death, like a stag escaping from a trap. In the middle, you should have nothing to regret, even if you die, like a farmer who has carefully worked in his fields. In the end, you should feel relieved and happy, like someone who has just completed a formidable task. At first, you should know that there is no time to waste, like a person dangerously wounded by an arrow. In the middle, you should meditate on death without thinking of anything else, like a mother whose only child has died. In the end, you should realize that there is nothing left to do, like a shepherd whose flock has been driven away by his enemies. Meditate single-mindedly on death and impermanence until you have a firm conviction. Regarding the practice of impermanence, Dagpo Rinpoche instructed us in 3 stages. In the beginning, we should fear birth and death, like a deer escaping from a trap without hesitation. In the middle, we should have nothing to regret, even if we die, like a farmer diligently tending to their fields. In the end, we should feel relieved and at ease, like someone who has successfully completed a great mission. As our meditation on impermanence reaches a certain level, we shall become peaceful, not anxious. This metaphor means that when initially meditating on impermanence, we should never look back, like an animal escaping from a hunter's trap. At that time, we should have a sense of urgency and strive to break free from the prison of samsara. Some individuals, when first arousing the sense of impermanence, let go of everything and resolve to devote their lives to Dharma practice. No one can change their minds. No matter what happens at home, whether it's their mother fainting or their father threatening them, their determination remains unwavering. This is commendable because without such renunciation, it is hard to break free from worldly concerns. Some parents may threaten, "If you become a monastic, I will jump off the building," or "I'm going to die." In the middle, we should work hard like a farmer tending to their fields. Through persistent effort, we will eventually gain a certain level of confidence so that even when death comes, we have nothing to regret. During the middle stage, we should diligently practice without seeking rewards. At this point, we may start to experience some signs of progress. Hence, we become less attached than when we were at the early stage. In the end, we complete the practice feeling relieved and peaceful. This is about the meditation of impermanence. Dagpo Rinpoche also said, "At first, you should know that there is no time to waste, like someone dangerously wounded by an arrow." It means that one is on the verge of death after being shot by an arrow. In the middle, you should meditate on death without thinking of anything else, like a mother whose only child has died. In the end, you should know that there is nothing left to do, like a shepherd whose flocks have been driven off by his enemies. It means when the cattle are gone, the cowboy has nothing left to do. When initially meditating on impermanence, we should let go of all other concerns and seize the time to rescue ourselves, just like being shot by an arrow in a vital spot. This is how it feels when initially meditating on impermanence. Similarly, when first arousing the sense of impermanence, we are not interested in anything except Dharma practice, and nothing can hinder us. It is because liberation is crucial. You have been trapped in the cycle of samsara for countless lifetimes and eons. Do you still have time to do anything else now? When you suddenly realize the urgency to break free from samsara, can you afford to think about anything else? Your sole focus is rescuing yourself, for nothing is more important than that. You must strive to attain liberation first before considering anything else. During the middle stage, we should be devoted to our practice day and night without any interest in anything else, like a mother who has lost her only child. Just like a mother who constantly thinks of her deceased beloved only child and loses her appetite for food and drink, we too should forsake interest in worldly activities. We shall solely focus on practicing, attaining liberation, cultivating bodhicitta, benefiting sentient beings, and achieving enlightenment. In the final stage, one attains the ultimate fruition, where one has nothing more to do. At this point, one understands everything clearly, but cannot describe it in words. It is like a herdsman whose cows have been driven away by enemies, leaving him stunned. However, the sorrow felt by the herdsman is absent in this realization state. This metaphor primarily illustrates that this realization state is beyond words and that there is nothing left to do. When a cowboy's cattle are gone, he has nothing to do. Thus, he can enjoy his leisure time. He probably wouldn't be sad, and he might even go swimming. This is how we felt when we were children. The meditation on impermanence can be divided into these 3 stages. When we attain realization through meditating on impermanence, we will feel at ease. Since we understand everything, our minds naturally become peaceful and we know what to do. It's like a person who has been blind for their whole life suddenly gaining sight in old age. Their eyes become bright and they can see the world and walk. How does it feel for someone who has been blind for 60 years to gain sight suddenly? The joy experienced when attaining wisdom through spiritual practice should be even stronger. If you haven't unlocked wisdom, you won't experience this joy. That's why the first Bodhisattva stage is called the stage of utmost joy. It is like someone who has been blind for countless lifetimes suddenly gaining sight in this life. How can they not be overjoyed? An ignorant being experiences the bliss of the Dharma when attaining wisdom. Whether it is realizing no self in person or reaching the first Bodhisattva stage, they will feel the strong bliss of the Dharma.